To consider such a vibrant topic as resurrection hope, we will need the whole Bible. All its genres will help us. Many biblical authors will weigh in as we construct a vision of how resurrection hope unfolds across the sweep of Scripture. When you think of resurrection hope, you might naturally turn to the New Testament. And that's understandable, because that hope is loud and lively there. But the volume was getting loud already in the Old Testament, and we will begin there. The Old Testament of Jesus' day was divided into 3 parts: the Law, the Prophets, and the Writings. This book will treat each part in chapters 1 through 3. Then chapters 4 through 7 will investigate the New Testament, treating the Gospels, Acts, the letters, and Revelation. The biblical landscape is vast, but that's appropriate to the vast nature of resurrection hope. Resurrection sightings. The resurrection of Jesus and the hope for our own liberation from death is foretold and foreshadowed in the Old Testament. The prophet Daniel says that people will rise from death, some to everlasting life, and others to everlasting judgment. Daniel chapter 12, verse 2. The prophet Ezekiel depicts the exile and return of the Israelites as a corporate death and resurrection. Ezekiel chapter 37. Jonah descends into the depths in a fish before ascending to the shore after 3 days. Jonah chapter 2. Compare with Matthew chapter 12, verse 40. The psalm writers sing about being brought out of the pit, about being taken from the clutches of death. They herald their hope to see God and to stand before Him. These songs are from the lips of those who live in the land of the dying, and they write with their gazes fixed on the future land of the living. The suffering and sorrowful psalmists write as if death is not the end, and something greater than earthly life is on the way. Pushing deeper into Old Testament history, we remember that the Lord used both Elijah and Elisha to deliver people from death. 1 Kings chapter 17, 2 Kings chapter 4. These are historical narratives where the power of death faced the power of God. And let's not forget that Elijah himself ascended to God without dying first. 2 Kings chapter 2. A whirlwind of fire carried him above the earth, and suddenly, as with Enoch many generations earlier, death didn't seem so inevitable. Even individuals who had not witnessed a physical resurrection could still hold out hope that God's power was greater than death. 2,000 years before Jesus was born, Abraham and Isaac left their traveling companions and climbed a mountain for sacrifice. Genesis chapter 22. Abraham told them that he and the boy were going to worship and would return. The aging patriarch knew he could trust God, that God would keep His promise of bringing offspring through Isaac, even though Isaac had not yet fathered a child. Chapter 21, verse 12. If God's plan was for Abraham to offer Isaac, then God's plan must also be to raise Isaac from the dead. Abraham's resurrection faith was reasonable, because he knew from experience that God is serious about promises and has the power to bring them to pass. Chapter 21, verses 1 through 2. An everlasting remedy. The Old and New Testaments testify that the solution to the problem of death is resurrection. The storyline of Scripture takes us from the embodied first couple in Genesis to the glorified saints in the new creation. But we do not raise ourselves. The victor over death is the one who has command of death. The tombs will open when He says so. John chapter 5, verses 28 and 29. In the Old Testament, no one experienced an immortal existence. What Jesus accomplished through His resurrection was something new, as well as a kind of life that earlier biblical authors only anticipated. The accounts of resurrections were stories of people brought back to earthly life only to die at a later date. Stepping out of the empty tomb on the 3rd day, Jesus embodied the everlasting remedy to the problem of death.